Chapter 1. He only agreed to this because he thought I was forgettable. The road twisted like a ribbon of old secrets, every bend flanked by wild olive trees and sun-bleached stones. Angel Reyes leaned forward, forehead nearly pressed against the car window, as the view finally opened. The sea below glittered like shattered mirrors under the high afternoon sun, and perched above the cliffs, lonely, monolithic, and defiant, was the wild estate. He hadn't expected it to look like a fortress. The car came to a gravel-grinding halt before wrought iron gates. They creaked open slowly, like even the house itself was hesitant to receive him. Angel stepped out, gripping the strap of his bag tighter than necessary. A sharp breeze caught his curls, tugging them free from the half-hearted tie he'd made back at the train station. He inhaled salt and stone. The estate loomed ahead. 3 stories, black shutters blare, ivy strangling the southern wall. It was beautiful in a way that felt theatrical, like the kind of place built for tragedies. The front doors opened before he could knock. Miriam Wilde stood in the entryway, her spine as straight as the fencing sword she used to wield in college. Angel had Googled her. He always did his homework. Silver hair pulled into a bun so severe it looked like it hurt. Linen slacks, pearl earrings, not a wrinkle on her white blouse. "You're late," she said. Angel checked his phone. "It's 1:03. I said 1 sharp." He raised an eyebrow. "And I thought I was here to write a biography, not get court-martialed." She didn't blink. "Follow me." Inside, the house was a contradiction of warm and cold. Sunlight dappled the terracotta floors and antique furniture, but every piece of art seemed too carefully curated, like it was trying to distract from something. The silence was thick. No music, no hum of life. Just the steady echo of Miriam's heels. She led him into a formal sitting room and dropped a thick packet onto the coffee table. "Confidentiality agreement," she said, handing him a pen. "Sign before we go any further." Angel flipped through the pages. "This is intense, even for a recluse." "There are rules here," she said, "and you'll follow them if you want to keep this job. Mr. Wilde is not interested in fame or fanfare. You are here to document, not dramatize." Angel bit back the sarcastic retort and signed. She handed him another sheet, this one a rigid schedule of interviews, approved rooms, meal times, and a bold printed warning at the bottom. "Do not enter the West Wing under any circumstances." He stared at it. "Did you borrow this from Hogwarts?" Her lips twitched. "Grayson doesn't appreciate surprises." Angel's heart gave an unprofessional flutter at the name. Grayson Wilde. The genius who published his first novel at 16, vanished from public life at 22, and hadn't given a single interview in over a decade. Angel had devoured those early books in college, novels about grief and time and aching loneliness that felt too mature for the hands that had written them. And now Angel was here to tell that story, if Grayson let him. The interview was scheduled for 2 in the library. Angel arrived 10 minutes early, notebook in hand, curls finally tamed into a tighter bun. The room was cathedral-like, 2 floors of bookshelves, ladders on wheels, dusty skylights, and a fireplace wide enough to host a funeral. He waited and waited. At 2:24, the door creaked open. Grayson Wilde stepped inside like he belonged in a better century. He was taller than Angel expected, at least 6'2", with a lean, wiry build and a stillness that made him feel sculpted, not born. His shirt was black, sleeves rolled to his forearms. His hair, dark and just a little too long, fell across his brow like it didn't care about rules. But it was his eyes that caught Angel's breath, a cool, unreadable gray blue like a sky right before it darkened. He didn't offer a hand. "So," he said, voice smooth and slow, "you're the latest one they sent." Angel forced a smile. "Don't worry, I'm not here to psychoanalyze you, just to dig into every secret you've ever tried to bury." Grayson's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Charming." They sat across from each other. Angel opened his notebook. "Let's start with something simple. What do you want people to remember about you?" "I don't." Angel blinked. "You don't? Want to be remembered?" "No." "Not even for your work?" Grayson leaned back, eyes cool. "The work speaks for itself. I'm just the shadow behind it." Angel tapped his pen against the page. "I think that's a lie you've told yourself so often you started believing it." Grayson didn't laugh. But something flickered behind his gaze, something that made Angel feel like he'd poked a sleeping lion. Their first session lasted 25 minutes. Grayson answered every question with careful precision, revealing nothing he didn't choose to. When it ended, he stood and walked out mid-sentence, leaving Angel staring after him. Angel found Miriam in the hall. He walked out on me. You got longer than most. Later that night, Angel vented to Cleo over a crackly phone call in his room. How am I supposed to write about a man who speaks in riddles and vanishes mid-conversation? He groaned. You love puzzles, Cleo reminded him. And you love impossible men. Admit it, you're intrigued. He looks at me like he's trying to dissect my soul. Hot. Terrifying. Same thing. After hanging up, Angel explored. The estate at night was quiet, but not dead. He wandered into a smaller study, more personal, less curated, and opened a drawer. Inside, a bundle of old papers tied with twine. One was a letter, half-finished, unsent. I miss you in ways I never gave myself permission to write about. Some part of me is still yours, still waiting, still watching that door. No name, no date, just pain trapped in ink. Angel's heart clenched. He slipped the letter back, feeling like he'd just read someone's open wound. He made his way to the kitchen in search of something sweet and mindless to balance the ache. He found a mug, filled it with milk, and turned to grab the cocoa tin, and nearly dropped it when he saw Grayson, barefoot, shirtless, standing at the fridge with a chocolate bar in his mouth. Jesus, Grayson looked unfazed. You make a lot of noise for someone trying to sneak snacks. Angel's eyes did a very traitorous sweep of Grayson's torso. Lean muscle, faint scars across his ribs, the way the light caught the edges of his collarbones. Shouldn't you be asleep? Angel asked, trying for sass instead of swooning. Grayson bit into the chocolate. I don't sleep well. Angel sipped his milk. Nightmares? Grayson leaned against the counter. Memories. There was a silence, soft and strange, a tentative peace offering. Grayson pointed at the cocoa tin. You're doing it wrong. Angel blinked. Excuse me? He took the tin from Angel, popped open the spice drawer, and added cinnamon and a pinch of chili powder. Trust me. Angel watched him stir, noting how his fingers moved with intention, how the silence wasn't awkward anymore. Grayson handed him the mug. Their fingers brushed. Try it, he said. Angel sipped. Warmth bloomed down his throat. It was delicious. Grayson turned to leave, but paused in the doorway. Don't read too many of my letters. They're not meant to be endings. Angel swallowed. What are they meant to be? Grayson looked over his shoulder, eyes unreadable. Reminders. Then he disappeared into the shadows, barefoot and half-myth again, leaving Angel alone with chocolate on his tongue and questions burning behind his teeth. Chapter 2. There's a locked room, a box of letters, and a man who sleeps like he's afraid to dream. Angel woke early the next morning, half expecting the kitchen encounter with Grayson to have been some bizarre cocoa-fueled dream. But when he came downstairs and found an empty mug, cinnamon-stained and perfectly placed in the drying rack, he knew it had been real. Every brush of fingers, every glint of shadowed light off Grayson's bare shoulders, every quiet word. Real. He scribbled a note in his journal. He doesn't sleep, but he dreams. I can see it in his silences. After breakfast, a single croissant and black coffee left for him on the sideboard, no sign of Miriam, Angel decided to do what he did best. Dig. Cleo always said he was part bloodhound, part therapist, so he headed outside. The garden stretched wide behind the estate, blooming with overgrown wildflowers and pale-leafed herbs. Zeke, the gardener, was already at work, his floppy hat tilted too far back on his balding head, a trowel in one hand and a carrot in the other. You must be the writer, Zeke said without looking up. Biographer, Angel corrected, crouching beside him. Technically, though lately I feel more like a ghost hunter. Zeke grinned, revealing a missing molar. That's not far off. Angel raised an eyebrow. You sound like someone who knows a story or two. Zeke plucked another carrot, cleaned it on his shirt, and bit in. He writes at night, walks barefoot along the cliffs before dawn, sometimes sings in the music room when he thinks no one's listening. Other times we don't see him for days. Sounds monastic. Sounds lonely, Zeke replied. Angel leaned back on his heels, gaze drifting toward the manor's southern wing, blinds always drawn, windows sealed like secrets. What happened to him? Really? Zeke shrugged. All I know is he left the world, not the other way around. That afternoon, Grayson was 20 minutes early for their interview. He entered the library with no preamble, no icy remarks, just a book in hand, a battered volume of Baudelaire's poetry in French. You read French? Angel asked, surprised. Grayson sat, folding one leg over the other with infuriating grace. I grew up fluent, Mother insisted. She said the French language made even heartbreak sound like seduction. Did it work? Grayson looked at him over the rim of the book. Depends on the heartbreak. The tension between them had shifted, less brittle, more magnetic. Where before Grayson had kept his eyes everywhere but on Angel, now he looked directly at him, as if watching for cracks. Or maybe he was starting to show his own. Angel pushed the recorder button. Tell me about your first book. Grayson's eyes flicked toward the window. I wrote it when I was 15, published at 16. Didn't understand what I was doing until critics tried to explain it to me. And then you vanished. I didn't vanish, Grayson said. I walked away. There's a difference. Angel hesitated. Why? Grayson didn't answer. Instead, he slid a page across the table. It was a photocopy of a tabloid cover from years ago, Wild Child, Rehab, or Retreat. Splashed beside it, a blurry photo of a much younger Grayson, eyes red-rimmed and lost. Angel looked up, startled. Grayson's voice was quiet. They wrote my life like fiction, so I stopped giving them material. Angel sat back, pulse steady but slow. But now you're letting me write it. I thought you'd be forgettable, Grayson admitted, standing. I was wrong. When he left, Angel didn't follow. He just stared at the photocopy long after the door closed. The house revealed itself in strange, subtle ways. A day later, while exploring what was supposed to be the approved study rooms, Angel found a tucked-away reading nook behind a false panel in a hallway bookcase. Inside, a stack of journals written in French, a box of broken pencils, and 3 faded children's drawings pinned to the wall. Stick figures holding hands under a scribbled sun. One figure had gray-blue eyes, colored with such care it made Angel's throat tighten. There was a name scribbled beside it in childish handwriting, Gray. The more he explored, the more contradictions he uncovered. A man who cloaked himself in black, but left wildflowers pressed between his books. A house that echoed with silence, but had a music room filled with sheet music and a baby grand, untouched by time, but clearly once loved. One morning, Angel found a narrow door slightly ajar near the second-floor balcony. Inside, an attic-like storage room with a single wooden chest. He hesitated, then opened it. Letters. Dozens, all unsent. All written in Grayson's elegant, slanted script. He read only one. I never learned how to grieve you properly. I held it all in my spine, my hands, my locked jaw. I made my life quiet so I wouldn't hear your name echo inside it. But I do. Still. Angel sat on the floor for a long time, surrounded by folded pain. Later that night, Bea FaceTimed him. Tell me everything, she demanded, hair wrapped in a towel, eyes sparkling with curiosity. Angel rolled onto his back on the bed. He's a walking contradiction, sharp and soft, terrifying and tender, and the house feels like it's been holding its breath for years. Bea smirked. You're falling for a haunted house in human form. Angel groaned into a pillow. Shut up. You always fall for complicated men. He's not complicated. He's layered. Oh, worse. He's Onion Man. You're doomed. He laughed, cheeks burning. But the laughter quieted into something slower, softer. Bea saw it too. Angel, she said gently, be careful with your heart this time. He nodded. He would be. He had to be. It happened the next afternoon. Angel was looking for the bathroom on the second floor when he took the wrong hallway. Everything looked familiar until it didn't. The air shifted. The walls darkened. The silence thickened. And then he saw the door. Old, unpainted wood. Slightly ajar. He knew the rules. He opened it anyway. The room was a nursery. Faded wallpaper with little stars and moons. A mobile hanging from the ceiling, still gently swaying as if disturbed. A crib, empty. A rocking chair, covered in dust. And on the wall a growth chart carved into the wood, with only one name etched again and again. Gray. Angel's breath caught. The air smelled like memory and neglect. He stepped in, just one pace. Behind him a voice cracked the quiet. What are you doing? Grayson. He stood in the doorway, frozen, face unreadable, but not calm. Not this time. I didn't mean to, Angel said, stepping back. I was looking for. You knew the rule. Angel swallowed. I'm sorry, I didn't. Everyone wants the tragedy, Grayson said flatly, voice shaking just beneath the surface. They think if they can stand in it, they'll understand. You don't get to understand this. I wasn't looking for tragedy, Angel said. I was looking for you. That stopped him. Grayson stepped inside, past him, into the center of the room. He touched the mobile, set it spinning. For a long moment he didn't speak. Then quietly, "That door was never meant to stay closed." Angel watched him. "You were a child, weren't you?" he asked gently. "When this room was full?" Grayson nodded once. "I wasn't alone then." "And now?" Grayson turned, and in the shadow of the doorway Angel saw him, not the recluse or the myth or the genius, just a man, tired, worn, still haunted by a crib that never got filled. "Now I'm trying to forget what it felt like to be," he whispered. Angel didn't ask who the room belonged to. Not yet. Instead, he walked forward, stood beside Grayson, close enough their shoulders brushed. Neither of them spoke. The silence said enough. Chapter 3. He's not the man I came to write about. He's the one I never thought I'd meet. Something shifted after the nursery. It wasn't spoken aloud, but Angel could feel it in the way Grayson no longer avoided his gaze, in the way his presence became steadier, less ghost, more gravity. The house, once echoing with avoidance, began to hum with the sound of chairs scraping wood, shared silences, and the occasional burst of unexpected laughter. Grayson showed up the next morning to their session holding a plate of warm scones. "I made too many," he said, placing them between them like an apology without words. Angel blinked at him. "You bake?" "I contain multitudes," Grayson deadpanned. Angel snorted and bit into one. Buttery, warm, filled with blackberries and something like trust. That day they didn't stick to the schedule. Angel didn't even turn on the recorder. They sat in the sun-soaked window seat of the West Library, legs stretched out, a chessboard between them long since abandoned. "Tell me something real," Angel said quietly, eyes on the ceiling. Grayson was quiet a long time. "Then, I was 12 when I published my first story, a short piece in a lit journal. My mother cried, my father asked if I'd plagiarized it." Angel turned his head. "Did you care?" Grayson's smile was bitter. "I cared about the wrong things. Praise felt like oxygen. I didn't know it could also be a fire." He continued, voice low but steady. "When my books got bigger, people stopped seeing me as a person. I became an idea, a genius, a commodity. I started curating everything about myself. Even my grief had to be palatable." Angel watched him closely, the words carving deeper than any chapter he could have written. "Was there anyone who saw you?" Angel asked. Grayson's eyes flickered. "Once." Silence stretched. Then Grayson looked at him, eyes tired and bare. "Your turn." Angel breathed out slowly. "I grew up in a town where being different meant being alone. I didn't have a name for what I was until I was 16 and found a blog post about being gay. I read it 3 times, saved it to a USB, and kept it in my sock drawer like a treasure." Grayson smiled gently. "I left for college as soon as I could," Angel continued. "Thought the world would open up. And it did a little. But people aren't always kinder when they have better vocabularies." Grayson reached forward, slid a scone across the plate toward him. A silent offering. Angel took it with a grateful smile. "I was dating someone a few years ago, thought it was love. I moved in with him, started writing a biography of a journalist I admired. He'd covered war zones, corruption scandals. The project meant everything to me." Grayson's gaze sharpened. "What happened?" "The guy I was with cheated," Angel said softly, "with the subject of the biography." Grayson froze. "You're kidding." "I wish." Angel laughed, bitter and quiet. "I deleted the whole draft, packed my bags, moved 3 cities away." Grayson leaned back, expression unreadable. "That must have been brutal." "It was humiliating," Angel admitted, "but I guess heartbreak's just the tax for feeling things deeply." They sat in the quiet for a while, watching dust dance in the sunlight. Later that evening, Grayson appeared at Angel's door with a ridiculous offer. "I'm cooking dinner. Your taste buds deserve penance." Angel blinked. "You're cooking again?" "I cook when I can't sleep," Grayson said, already turning down the hall. "And you look like someone who survives off vending machine sandwiches and espresso." Angel followed him to the kitchen, where Grayson moved with unexpected ease, chopping herbs with elegant precision, barefoot, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. "Can I help?" Angel asked. "Sit and look pretty." Angel laughed and perched on the counter. "Is that your way of flirting?" Grayson shot him a look. "Would it work?" The air thickened. Neither of them broke eye contact. By the time dinner was ready, handmade pasta with basil, garlic, and toasted pine nuts, they were both flushed for entirely different reasons. They sat on the kitchen floor, backs against the cabinets, bowls in their laps, legs stretched across each other's. The conversation moved like water, smooth, winding, sometimes sharp. Angel didn't remember falling asleep, only that Grayson was laughing at something he'd said, and then the room dimmed into shadows. When he woke, his head was on Grayson's shoulder, and Grayson hadn't moved. 2 days later, Grayson surprised him again. "We're going to the village," he announced, appearing in the hallway with sunglasses and a scarf. Angel blinked. "You mean outside, where people exist?" "I'm feeling reckless," Grayson said, then added, "Also, we're out of decent coffee." The drive down was quiet but comfortable. Angel took the wheel, Grayson navigating with a dry sense of humor and an occasional correction that made Angel mutter under his breath. The village was quaint and charming, cobblestones, fruit markets, small cafes filled with chattering locals. Grayson clung to his sunglasses like armor, but walked beside Angel like he didn't hate the sunlight. At the festival square, children ran past them with streamers. A vendor called out, "Couples discount on the candied almonds." Angel started to correct her, but then glanced at Grayson, who said nothing. He just handed over a few coins and passed the paper cone to Angel with an unreadable smile. They sat on a bench under a wisteria canopy, sharing almonds, brushing hands occasionally without comment. Angel whispered, "You didn't correct her." Grayson turned his head. "Would you have preferred I did?" Angel shook his head, heart thundering. Neither of them spoke again for a long while. When they returned to the estate, the sky was glowing with late afternoon gold. Angel wandered back to the attic room, needing space to breathe, to process. He found another bundle of letters in the bottom of the chest, these older, written in a rougher hand. He picked one at random. "You said you'd love me until I stopped loving myself." "You didn't realize I already had. I loved you even when you stopped loving me." Angel sat on the floor, heart folding in on itself. When he came back downstairs, Grayson was by the window in the drawing room, staring out at the cliffs. He turned when Angel entered, and something in his face changed when he saw the letter in Angel's hand. "I wasn't snooping," Angel said softly. "I just found it." Grayson's jaw clenched. "It's beautiful," Angel added. "Heartbreaking, but beautiful." Grayson's voice was low. "It wasn't meant to be read." Angel stepped closer. "Then why keep it?" Grayson looked away. "To remind myself that I was capable of feeling something real. Once." Angel hesitated, then softly, "You didn't stop being lovable, Grayson. They just stopped seeing it." The air thinned. Grayson looked at him with something raw and vulnerable in his eyes, like he'd been balancing on the edge of something, and those words pushed him over. He stepped forward. Angel's breath caught. Grayson didn't kiss him on the mouth. Not yet. Instead, he cupped Angel's cheek, leaned in, and pressed a kiss, soft, reverent, to his temple. The kind of kiss that says, "I don't know what this is yet, but I think I need it." Angel closed his eyes, let it burn. It was barely a moment, but it was enough. Enough to ruin them both. Chapter 4. We can't go back to before, and I don't want to. They danced around it, the almost. The air between Angel and Grayson was now thick with almosts. Hands that almost touched, words that almost confessed, mouths that almost met. It was in the quiet pauses between conversations, in the way Grayson lingered after interviews, his gaze trailing over Angel's face as if he was trying to memorize every microexpression. Angel wasn't sure when it started, but it was undeniable now. He found himself reading into everything. Every plate of food Grayson left for him in the kitchen. Every folded blanket placed on the edge of the couch when he nodded off during late-night writing sessions. Every time Grayson's fingers brushed his when passing him a pen and didn't immediately pull away. One afternoon, it nearly happened. They were in the music room. Grayson seated at the piano, Angel curled on the carpet with his back against the bass. The notes drifted around them, half-formed melodies that never landed. Grayson's hands moved like he was remembering how to feel, not play. Angel tilted his head back, watching him in the soft, golden light. "Did you ever think about composing?" Grayson gave a small smile. "I've written 1,000 things I never let anyone hear." Angel sat up, face inches from Grayson's. "Maybe it's time you let someone." The moment snapped into place, breath shared, eyes locked. Grayson leaned in, but the door swung open with a sharp creak. Miriam. She stood there, stiff as ever, but there was something in her eyes this time, something like regret. "I need a word with you, Angel," she said. Angel blinked, flustered, rising to follow her into the hall. He looked back once. Grayson didn't move. In the corridor, Miriam shut the door behind them with a quiet click. "You're getting close to him," she said. Angel folded his arms. "That's the point. I'm writing his story." "No, you're rewriting his story," she said sharply. "And he doesn't do well with rewrites." Angel frowned. "Why are you warning me?" "Because I've seen what happens when he lets someone in. He gets lost in them. And when they leave, and they always leave, he forgets how to come back to himself." "I'm not going to hurt him," Angel said. "You say that now," she replied. "But you're human, and so is he, no matter how much he pretends otherwise." Angel watched her walk away, throat tight. He hated how her words lingered. That night, unable to sleep, Angel wandered the house. He drifted into the third-floor study, the one with the dusty globe and cracked leather armchairs. He hadn't spent much time in here. He moved to the desk, rifling through some old boxes, searching for distraction, and found something hidden beneath yellowed newsprint. A manuscript. It wasn't titled. It wasn't edited. But the handwriting was unmistakable. Grayson's. Angel sat cross-legged on the floor and read. It wasn't fiction. It wasn't even disguised as fiction. It was a confession. Page after page poured out stories Grayson had never spoken aloud, of nights in hotel rooms too silent to sleep in, of award shows where the smiles felt like costumes, of the betrayal that broke something inside him permanently, of falling in love with someone who saw through him, and choosing to disappear when that person chose someone else. The prose was raw, bloody even, nothing like the cool, cerebral voice Grayson usually wore like armor. But the final chapter was missing. Angel traced the empty space at the back of the binder with his fingertips, the ghost of a chapter that refused to exist. The next morning, Grayson was tense, distant. Angel found him in the garden, pruning lavender with unnecessary force. "Are you okay?" Angel asked. Grayson didn't look up. "Fine." "Miles is coming," Miriam said from behind them. Grayson's hands stilled. Angel turned. "Who's Miles?" "An old friend," Miriam said carefully. He reached out. Grayson's jaw was clenched so hard it looked painful. "I told him not to," he muttered. "I told him to stay away." When the car arrived, Grayson stood by the window but didn't greet it. Angel answered the door instead. Miles was handsome in that slippery kind of way. Neatly combed hair, pressed clothes, the kind of smile that felt too wide to be genuine. He looked Grayson over once with a lazy sort of recognition. "You haven't changed a bit," he said. Grayson didn't move. "You should have stayed dead to me." Miles raised his eyebrows. "Is that any way to greet your old best friend?" Angel watched, tension coiling in his chest. "I think maybe this was a mistake." Grayson turned and walked out without another word. Miles stayed only 20 minutes. He didn't say much, just eyed Angel like he knew something. When he finally left, Angel followed Grayson to the library. "You okay?" he asked gently. Grayson stood at the window, arms folded. "He used to write with me, helped me edit my second novel. Then he leaked a draft to the press behind my back, sold my breakdown to a tabloid for $30,000. Angel exhaled slowly. "I'm so sorry." Grayson looked over at him. "He said he did it because he loved me, and I believed him, for too long." Angel hesitated. Then he pulled the manuscript from his bag. "I found this." Grayson went still. Angel knelt, held it out. "It's incredible, honest. I didn't know you could write like this." Grayson didn't take it. Angel continued, "Why didn't you finish it?" Grayson sat heavily in the armchair. "Because the ending was supposed to be about me choosing someone, loving them anyway, forgiving myself through their eyes. But I realized I've never chosen myself. Not once. That's why I never wrote the ending." Angel crossed the room, knelt before him. "Then maybe it's time." Grayson looked at him, and something in his expression cracked open. "I'm scared," he whispered. Angel reached up, gently took his hand. "Me too." Grayson's fingers tightened around his. That night, after hours of silence shared in proximity, Grayson found Angel in the guest room, curled up on the couch with a notebook in his lap. He hovered in the doorway, unsure, uncertain. Angel looked up. "You can come in." Grayson did. They stood a moment apart, the space charged. Then Grayson reached out, hesitant. Angel met him halfway. The kiss was nothing like Angel imagined. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't cinematic. It was slow, trembling, like neither of them was sure it would be allowed again. Grayson's mouth tasted like peppermint and something deeper, something broken, trying to be whole. When they pulled back, Grayson's forehead pressed against Angel's. "Okay," he whispered. Angel smiled. "More than okay." They lay on the bed, fully clothed, bodies curled together like something instinctual. Hands roamed, not with urgency, but curiosity, comfort, reverence. Grayson traced patterns across Angel's spine. Angel pressed a kiss to the hollow of his throat. They didn't speak for a long time. When they did, it was Angel who broke the quiet. "You keep telling stories," he said, "but you've never let anyone write the one that matters most." Grayson's hand paused. "What if it ends badly?" he asked. Angel kissed his shoulder, then his temple. "What if it doesn't?" Chapter 5. I didn't mean to love him, but I don't know how to stop. The house changed. Or maybe it was just the way Angel saw it, how the dust looked like it shimmered instead of clung, how the windows seemed to sigh instead of groan. Light moved differently now, settling in the corners instead of avoiding them. The silence no longer echoed. It listened. And Grayson Wilde was smiling. Not all the time. Not in wide, obvious ways. But there were moments now. In the morning, when Angel padded barefoot into the kitchen and found fresh espresso waiting for him, with a small note stuck beside it. "You snore when you sleep on your stomach." A crooked smile when Angel made fun of his handwriting. A full-body laugh when Angel tripped over a rug in the library and knocked over a chair. They moved through the estate like gravity bound them to each other. When they sat beside each other, their knees always touched. When Angel spoke, Grayson listened with the kind of quiet that demanded honesty. When Grayson wandered into a room, Angel always looked up. "I don't know when it happened," Angel confessed one afternoon to Bia over the phone, voice low, "but I think I'm in love with him." Bia, ever practical, said, "Of course you are. He's broody, brilliant, emotionally complicated, and secretly gentle. He's literally your type distilled into a tragic love song." Angel didn't deny it. He changed the working title of the biography that night. The man who hid everything except his heart. It felt more honest. Grayson noticed the document open on Angel's laptop a few mornings later. He didn't say anything, but he rested a hand briefly on Angel's shoulder, just a touch, and left it there. It was Miriam who found Angel in the greenhouse one late afternoon, cataloging Grayson's journals, highlighter in hand, lips moving silently as he read. "You're different than the others," she said. Angel looked up. "There were others?" She nodded. "Writers, journalists, academics, all wanted to explain him. None cared to understand him." Angel placed the notebook in his lap. "I didn't mean to fall for him." "But you did." He nodded. Miriam walked further into the light, brushing her fingers along the hanging vines of jasmine. "You think I was protecting him from the world. But the truth is I was protecting him from himself." Angel's brow furrowed. "He sabotages what he wants most," she said softly. "He's scared of being loved in ways he can't control. You gave him a reason to stop running." Angel swallowed. "He makes it hard to stay sometimes." "And yet you're still here." He was. The conservatory smelled like spring in memory. Grayson was waiting for him there one evening. The doors open wide to let in the golden light of the sinking sun. Jasmine vines curled down the walls, the blossoms glowing softly. Angel stopped in the doorway, heart already softening. Grayson turned at the sound of his footsteps. He wore a loose white shirt, sleeves rolled, his hair a mess like he'd been dragging his hands through it. "Hey," he said simply. Angel crossed the floor. "Hey." They met in the middle. Grayson reached up, cupped Angel's jaw like it was something sacred. "I don't know what this is supposed to look like," he whispered. Angel leaned forward. "Then let's figure it out together." The kiss was warm and unhurried, the kind that felt like it bloomed from soil instead of fire. Grayson kissed him like he was memorizing it, like he didn't need to rush anymore. They swayed there, surrounded by petals and sunlight, foreheads pressed together, breath shared. It was perfect. Until it wasn't. Miles returned 3 days later, unannounced, uninvited. Angel was in the study when he heard the front door open and Miriam's raised voice. He stepped into the hall just in time to see Grayson stiffen like he'd been shot. Miles stood there with a flash drive in hand and a look that made Angel's stomach twist. "This isn't revenge," Miles said coolly. "It's leverage." "What is that?" Grayson asked, voice sharp. Miles turned to Angel. "A recording. A very real, very raw audio file of your boyfriend losing his mind in a hospital hallway. 2017. You cry in French. Did you know that? Angel stepped forward. Give it to me. No, Grayson said, voice flat. Let him say what he came to say. Miles smiled like a man who enjoyed cruelty. All I want is credit. Mention, in the biography, the narrative that I helped shape you. That's all. Grayson's face went blank. Get out. Miles tilted his head. Or I send this to every literary outlet that rejected my last submission. Angel lunged forward, snatching the drive from Miles's hand and shoving him backward. Leave. Now. Miles looked to Grayson. You let them in, they always use you. History repeats. And then he was gone. Angel turned, pulse racing. Are you okay? Grayson didn't speak. He just stood there, trembling, eyes distant. Grayson. This is what happens, Grayson murmured. When I trust someone, when I start to believe that maybe I could be normal, that maybe someone could care and not run. Angel stepped forward. I'm not running. Grayson looked at him, something shattering in his expression. But you should. Don't you get it? This is who I am. A risk, a wreck, a headline waiting to happen. Angel shook his head. That's not true. But Grayson was already pulling away, turning in on himself. Retreating behind walls Angel thought they'd torn down. So Angel did the only thing he could think of. He walked out, but he didn't leave. The floor outside the West Wing door was hard, cold. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed tightly over his chest, jacket pulled around him. He stayed there for hours, watching the light change through the hallway windows. At some point, night fell. Then morning crept in, pale and hesitant, and the door creaked open. Grayson stood there, eyes bloodshot, a blanket clutched in one hand. He looked down. Angel was asleep. His arms were crossed over his chest like a barrier, like a shield. His head rested against the wall. His knees were bent, hands curled loosely in his lap, as if even unconscious he was guarding something fragile. Grayson knelt beside him, touched his hair. Angel stirred, opened his eyes. Still here? Grayson whispered. Angel blinked up at him. Of course. Grayson's voice cracked. Why? Angel reached for his hand. Because I love you, he wanted to say. But instead he said, because I don't know how to stop. Chapter 6. I think I was always writing a love story. I just didn't know it was ours. Angel found Miles in town, exactly where he hoped he'd be, at a sleek little cafe with too many mirrors and not enough soul. He sat at a table near the window, sipping espresso with the smug composure of someone who thought they'd won. Angel didn't give him the satisfaction of a greeting. He pulled out the flash drive Miles had tried to weaponize and set it on the table between them. I've listened to it, Angel said, voice quiet but steely. Every second. Miles tilted his head, amused. Dramatic, isn't it? It's not dramatic, Angel replied. It's human. It's someone in pain, someone trying to survive. Miles smiled like it was a game. The world loves a comeback. I'm just giving them the fall that makes it interesting. Angel leaned in. I have emails, your emails, from publishers, from agents, from one of Grayson's old publicists. You've been shopping around this trash for years. Miles blinked. I have enough, Angel said, to burn your reputation to the ground. If you leak that recording, I will go public. With everything. I'll make sure the only thing you ever get published again is a legal disclaimer. Miles's jaw clenched. Angel stood, calm and unmoved. Walk away, Miles, and pray you never find your name in one of my books. He left the cafe with his heart pounding but steady. The sun overhead was gentle, warm. For the first time since arriving at the Wild Estate, he didn't feel like a stranger in the story. He felt like the protagonist. Miriam met him on the front steps when he returned. She didn't ask what happened. Instead, she simply said, You're not here to rescue him. Angel nodded. I know. You're here, she continued, to remind him he's worth choosing. Angel felt the truth of that settle deep in his chest, and when he walked through the front doors, he found Grayson in the sunroom. Typing. Really typing. He looked up as Angel entered, eyes bright in a way they hadn't been in years. You're writing, Angel said. Grayson nodded slowly, like he couldn't quite believe it either. I started last night. It's just a few pages, but... Angel crossed the room. He didn't kiss him, didn't touch him, just sat beside him, close enough that their thighs touched. Grayson turned the laptop so Angel could see. A blank document. Then one line. Chapter 1, the first time I let someone stay. Angel stared at the screen, heart thudding. You're writing again, he whispered. I didn't think I could, Grayson said. But then, you didn't leave. Angel rested his hand over Grayson's. I didn't even consider it. Later, in the quiet of Angel's room, the biography sat open on the bed. The final chapter, titled, "The Man Who Hid Everything Except His Heart," and below it, nothing. Just blank pages. When Grayson saw it, his brow furrowed. You didn't finish it. Angel smiled, soft. That part's yours. Grayson looked at him, quiet for a long beat. I don't know how to end it. You don't have to, Angel said. Just live it. That night, the air inside the estate was warm and still. The sky outside glowed dark blue through the open balcony doors. The moon hung low, and jasmine curled through the window panes like perfume. Grayson stood in Angel's doorway, fingers curled at his sides. Angel looked up from the bed. Can I come in? Grayson asked softly. You never have to ask, Angel replied. Grayson crossed the room slowly, climbed into the bed with the same reverence he brought to writing a new story. They faced each other, eyes searching, fingers reaching, touch unfolding like a shared breath. Grayson cupped Angel's cheek. I've never done this like this before. Like what? Angel whispered. Like it mattered. Their lips met, soft at first, then deeper, unhurried. No rush, no frenzy. Just the kind of kiss that anchored them, the kind that spoke in heartbeats. They touched each other like they were learning a language. Like every gasp, every brush of skin was a sentence. Clothes slipped away, laughter blooming between kisses, nerves quieted by gentle fingers and shared promises. Grayson's mouth pressed against Angel's jaw. Stay. Angel arched toward him, breath catching. I'm not going anywhere. They moved together in a slow, reverent rhythm, a shared rhythm. They whispered secrets into each other's skin. The past melted, the future unfolded. Afterward, they lay tangled in sheets that smelled like sun and sweat and skin. Grayson traced Angel's collarbone with 2 fingers, slow and worshipful. I didn't know I could be loved like this. Angel smiled, eyes half-lidded. That's because you were waiting for the right narrator. Grayson kissed his shoulder. Then I hope you never stop writing me. Epilogue. The auditorium pulsed with anticipation. It was Grayson Wilde's first public appearance in over a decade, and it was for a book that was not his own. The biography, The Man Who Hid Everything Except His Heart, had become a sensation even before its release. Pre-orders broke records. People wrote in, claiming the story healed something inside them. But what made the crowd gasp wasn't just Grayson stepping onto the stage. It was that he was holding Angel's hand. They walked out together, side by side. Grayson leaned into the mic, voice calm and sure. You all thought I disappeared because I had nothing left to say. But the truth is, I was waiting for someone who saw me beyond the pages. Someone who didn't want to write my story, just wanted to know me. He turned toward Angel. And he did. The crowd rose to their feet, applause like thunder. Angel blinked hard, overwhelmed, fingers curled tight around Grayson's. In that moment, it didn't matter how the story had started, only that they'd found the ending together. Grayson never thought his story would have a happy ending, but then Angel showed up and wrote one just for him.